Walang kasing saya ang Paskong Pinoy. Dumaan man ang problema at pandemya, kayang-kayang lampasan basta't nagdadamayan at nagmamahalan.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Tuloy na tuloy pa rin ang Pasko dito sa V81 Radio, Los Angeles.
Ito ang paborito ng bawat Pilipino. Basta all hits, all Pinoy, panalo. Merong kwentong iyakan at tawanan. Kahit nasaan ka man ito'y mapapakinggan. Oh, V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio mo. V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Dahil mahal namin kayo. V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program anchors and producers and do not necessarily reflect the policies and position of this station. The program that puts together industry and business leaders, their organization, company, and brands in an optimal showcase of information for business impact and exchange. This is Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition, the scalable business exchange program and platform, hosted by global business leader Rosario Cajucom-Bradbury, live in Southern California, together with the founding anchor, business and transformation mentor Rolly Pagaspas, live in the Philippines. This is Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition, only here on V81 Radio Worldwide.
Good morning, Philippines. Good afternoon in some other countries, and good morning in Dubai, early morning in Europe, and good evening here in Southern California, USA. And welcome to the second season of Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition here at V81 Radio Worldwide. I hope you all had a wonderful and relaxing social distancing Thanksgiving weekend, and that even in the midst of pandemic, there are so many things that we are and should be grateful for. Last week episodes, we had a very interesting discussion with former Finance Minister of the Philippines, Gary Teves, and he is also the Managing Director of the Wallace Business Forum. We spoke about him being an economist with all his team, spoke about the 2020 analysis of the economy of the Philippines, the forecast of the fourth quarter, and what is there to be celebrated and expected for the year 2021 of looking towards the future. So the key highlights to remember with regards to the Philippine economy performance in the third quarter, it said that in July, the economic managers estimated that the GDP to contract between 4.5% and 6.6% in 2020, while the third quarter data indicated the economy is recovering slower than expected. But the smaller GDP contraction indicates that the Philippine economy is on the mend. What do we mean by that? The path is clearer to a stronger bounce back in 2021. This is according to the Secretary of National Economic and Development Authority, Secretary Carl Chua. So they further discuss which industry grew and which ones contracted. Among the three major sectors, only the agriculture industry grew by 1.2% during 2020, obviously because it's the essential services of food in order to feed all of the population of the country. While meanwhile, the services industry declined by negative 10.6% and 17.2% respectively. Under the industry, the manufacturing declined too of minus 9.7%, but in some sectors, like the pharmaceuticals, grew by 6.5% and the furniture by 1.7%. It growth. So The failure of the build to increase the economic activity has dragged the construction down by minus 39.9%. So what is the forecast for the last quarter of 2020 and the forecast in 2021? The economic decline will likely continue in the fourth quarter of 2020. We have the last month of December happening, but it will be in a very mild level of decline because more businesses are now back in operations. More transportation offers, increased capacity and made available, and the tourism has resumed already. So many industries are now able to resume 70% or more of their capacity, but of course subject to the health protocols to be observed. The domestic tourism is gradually opening. Example, the travel bubbles like Boracay and Palawan, and of course, I think Balisin. Filipinos now also allowed to travel abroad for tourism. So you see, the Christmas season until the first quarter of 2021 is a good opportunity to open tourism further, subject, of course, to minimum health protocols. Overall, the economist has forecasted a GDP to fall between minus 12% and minus 10% in 2020. So what is there to expect in 2021? The growth of 2021 is also seen as a more of a base effect driven than as a result of a stronger effects or efforts to get the economy back on its feet. With 254,000 repatriated overseas Filipino workers as of the third week of November, and with 90,000 more expected before the year ends, remittances and that once fueled consumers' purchasing power in 2021 would remain low of what it was in 2019. So, how is the cost of doing business in 2020? The exchange rate is something to look at too. The Philippine peso has gained against the US dollar. The average exchange rate is seen to settle between 48 to 49 peso to $1, recorded in 2019. You see, the near absence of demand of dollars due to weaker importation is causing a pile up of a dollar surplus that is driving the peso up. So the exchange rate will average between 50 to 52 pesos to $1 in 2021, which brings it back more or less to the rate of the year 2019. So take note, it will be between 50 to 52 in 2021. While the interest rate, average bank lending rates forecast is kept at 5.5 to 6.5 in 2020, down from 7.1% in 2019. So what does this mean? It's the time to borrow money for investment purpose because the interest rate, lending rate is much lower than 2019. And the Monetary Authority said that they're likely to remain cautious in 2021 and keep the policy rate steady. So interest rates will still be relatively low in 2021 with average lending bank rate near the low end of 6 to 7% range in 2021. While inflation has been kept to 2.5% in the first quarter of 2020, same as the rate for 2019. So that's good. But you see, inflation is now forecasted around 2 to 3%, which is better than the budget official target of 2 to 4% for 2020. Monetary official forecast inflation to average 2.8% in 2021 and 3% in 2022. Now, what is the bottom line in order to increase a pro-business environment? What needs to be done to stimulate the economic recovery? First and foremost is to spend the remaining money under the Bayanihan 2. And that's very important because the law is set to expire on December 19, which means after which unreleased funds that is not spent in the Bayanihan 2 will be reverted back to the general fund. So it's best to spend it. So the government should also consider more public and private partnership, the PPP, under the Build program of the government, wherever feasible and whenever feasible, because it will accelerate the infrastructure development of the Philippines. And the next one, which is very important, is the timely passage of the 2021 budget, national budget. You see, the proposed amount of budget is 4.5 trillion, is nearly 10% higher than the 2020 appropriation. What does this mean? Each time you delay the budget approval, each time you delay the approval of the budget, the passage of national budget will result to 1.2 billion not spent, according to NEDA Secretary Carl Chua. So if we look at the budget, the proposed 4.5 trillion peso nation budget for 2021, 1.12 trillion of that will go to infrastructure project. What does that mean? It means it will generate more jobs for the Filipinos. 1.7 million jobs will be generated with this budget for infrastructure. And that's very good. And 203 billion pesos is allocated for the implementation of the Universal Healthcare Act and measures to address the COVID-19, and 114 billion to support the government conditional cash transfer program. Now, last but not the least, in order to bounce back the economy of the Philippines in 2021, it's very important to pass the package of reforms that foster a pro-business environment. There are many reforms now in the government that are very good, but these are the top three, according to the economists, will be very good for a pro-business. Number one is the CREATE. CREATE is the acronym for Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises. It seeks to lower the corporate income tax from 30% to 25% and make incentives performance-based, time-bound, and transparent. And the second form is FIST, F-I-S-T, which is the Financial Institutions Strategic Transfer, which help build banks manage bad loans. So deal with the surge of non-performing assets and rehabilitate the struggling businesses. And that's very good. So the FIST is another reform that should be passed. And the other one, last but not least, is the GUIDE, G-U-I-D-E, which means Government Financial Institutions Unified Initiatives to Distress Enterprises for Economic Recovery. This is focused to seek to strengthen the capacity of the government financial institutions to provide assistance to micro and small medium enterprises. Therefore, it can be concluded that the Philippine economy is on the mend. The path is clearer to a strong bounce back in 2021, according to former Secretary or current Secretary of NEDA, Carl Chua. Now, in the episode last week, we also had the discussion about the real estate in the Philippines, presented by Sheila Lobien of the Lobien Realty. The main takeaway there is about the office market, which is still going to take up within outside Metro Manila, is expected to rebound in 2021. With the BPO expected to increase 50% of the BPO companies to increase and expand in the Philippines, and the co-working spaces is very much in demand. Second, the residential market, because of the work from home and online school and township development is in, as well as the condo unit is very much the central business district. Sales will be in demand there between the range of 1 million to 7 million, they said. And last but not the least, e-commerce. E-commerce sales is being a driving force, hence the warehouses are highly in demand for the real estate business. So there you go. You had a recap of the last week's episode, but the most important thing is, what is today's episode focused on? Our focus for today's episode is about people. Because that as economy reopens with businesses opening up, more with health protocols, of course, in place, the future of 2021 is with your people, because there is no other way to build business but through its people, and that's you. So it's very timely that we have today the World Stage International Network has an ongoing event called Awesome People Conference, which is running from November 25 to January 20, led by their managing director, Cherry Pua-Africa. So you'd see our first guest to talk with today is going to be Cherry Pua-Africa, which is an NLP trainer and a managing director at the World Stage International Conference. We shall talk about their Awesome People Conference with 4 moments in time. So we'll show the poster of what are the 4 moments in time episodes for this. First is the November 25 Awesome Team. And then the next is the December 5 about Awesome Life. And the January 16 Awesome Communicator. And January 20 Awesome Leader that takes us to a successful 2021. So, Miguel, thank you for that slide. So you will also have a chance to listen to the Leadership and Talent Management Insights of Michelle Garcia, who is the Regional Director of DexCon and the former President of the Philippine Management Association of the Philippines. So please don't go away. We shall get started to talk about the future of 2021 is with your people. And our first guest featuring the Awesome People Conference of Cherry Pua-Africa. So we will be right back after this brief commercial from our sponsors and our media partner V81 and showing you the teaser of the Awesome People Conference. Don't go away.
We'll be back shortly. This is Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition. Only here on V81 Radio Worldwide. Ngayong December sa Home Not Alone Songs from Home Season 2.
Whenever I see girls and boys selling lanterns on the street,
Get Laid is going to be merry ang ating Christmas dahil makakasama ni Papa Gio ang King of Pinoy Christmas Songs, Jose Marie Chan.
my idea of a perfect Christmas.
Talagang a holiday to remember ngayong December. Kaya samahan si Papa Gio at Jose Marie Chan on December 2, Wednesday, 7 p.m. LA time o Thursday, 11 a.m. Philippine time. Home Not Alone, Songs from Home Season 2, December Special with Jose Marie Chan and Papa Gio. Dito lang yan siyempre sa V81 Radio, Los Angeles.
The spirit of Christmas be always in our hearts.
Now back to Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition. Only here on V81 Radio Worldwide.
Welcome back to Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition here at V81 Radio Global Worldwide. And today's episode is focused about people, and it's about you, because as we said earlier, that as the economy reopens, with businesses opening up, with more, of course, with health protocols being observed, the future of 2021 is with your people, because there is no other way to build businesses but through your people. So it's very timely. You've seen the teaser video of the World Stage International Network has an ongoing event called Awesome People Conference during the November 25 to January 20, led by Managing Director Cherry Pua-Africa, rather. So let's get started, and let's have the banner, Miguel.
Challenges are the clear products of the pandemic. Things may not be solved the same way before. Thus, creativity is needed to move forward, to see beyond. Let us decipher the adaptive and authentic ways for a new landscape roadmap for businesses. Reimagining the business industries beyond the pandemic.
So let's get started. Now, our first guest today is Cherry Africa Pua. Cherry Pua Africa is recently awarded the top 100 most influential Filipino women of the world. And on top of it, she is also one of Asia's most distinguished woman leaders. Cherry is an international keynote speaker, an author, a coach, and the founder and the master of transformation rockstar of World Stage International. She is a thought leader in the field of neuro-linguistic programming and a masterclass trainer in Singapore. You see, Cherry is currently affiliated with the NLP University, based in the University of California as a global NLP trainer. So, the Fascinate Laboratory in the USA. So the Association of NLP in the United Kingdom and the Firewalking Institute of Research and Education, with a global reach of international coaches and firewalking instructors around the world. A widely followed transformation coach in Asia, Cherry is an awakener of the awesomeness in people, having helped 500,000 individuals and businesses achieve breakthrough results. So, she's an NLP trainer from NLP University of California, a master trainer of World Stage International, a masterclass trainer in Singapore, a firewalking trainer, a Fascinate Laboratory advisor, a UP Magna Cum Laude, a coach, a trainer, an energizer, mind breaker, and mind blower writer. Ladies and gentlemen, let me present to you the awesome managing director of the World Stage International Network, Cherry Pua Africa.
Good morning.
Hello,
Good morning, good day, good evening, Rosario. Thank you so much for having me here in this awesome universe of yours.
Wow. Well, you look amazing. My gosh. I like your background. It's very well framed and so forth. But anyways, I like your bio is so incredible. You were awarded as one of the most influential Filipino women in the world and Asia's most distinguished. And you talk of influence. You know, we talk of influence here. You're one of the most influential women in the world, and we talk of influence. And one of your posters says, "Your influence and not your fluency is your biggest currency." I just want to show that a poster of yours because it's quite interesting the way you kept that one. Gail, can we see that poster quickly? See, that poster of yours clearly says, "Your influence and not your fluency is your biggest currency." What do you mean by this? Can we take that poster out now, Miguel? What do you mean by this influence versus fluency?
I think when you talk about fluency, there's a lot of proficiency, there's a lot of competence around that word. And while it's true, we need competence. If we are not able to guard our message, if we are not able to put forth that message to the world, it is really just, a set and a string of words. It's nothing, right? It's just a string of ideas. So what we need to do is to make sure that whatever it is that we generate from our mind and from our own competencies, we're able to actually just share it to the world so that they could shift and move the world to somewhere better in a more positive way. I think that's what it means.
So if I will capture that in briefly, is say that no matter what competencies you have and skills, if you do not spread it to the world to influence them and to see it in the mind shift that will be better in their life, then your competency is nothing unless you put that in the right place to influencing people. Is that what you mean?
Correct. You're not shifting. You're not moving. And as leaders, we need to make sure that, we move our capacities and our capabilities, our resources to move people, teams, results to a different place. And that is influence.
I really like the way you really coined it. It's really it's your influence and not your fluency that would really matter. Now, you have a brand name also as a master transformation rock star. How have you maintained such a master transformation rock star with a pandemic? In short, how were you able to innovate and pivot and things like that? But first of all, what made you a rock star?
Well, rock star is a word that we use in our training to actually talk about two things and two elements. That is a rock and that is a star. The rock being, we're actually, here placed in this world. We have a space in this universe to keep on pushing our own rock. So that is actually our hero's journey. And we do it one starfish, one star at a time, one person at a time, one result at a time, one department at a time. So that is actually what rock star means. So nothing about this, nothing so buoyant about, being a rock star, being a superstar, being famous and all. It's all about our mission, as individuals here on earth to make this place better than we found it. And when there's a word before that, rock star, which is master, because we are always in pursuit for excellence. Diba? And we want to be a master of something. We don't want just to be an ordinary person. We want to be ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And hence, that label is actually a daily reminder to me of the mission that I am actually playing in this world. And this is what, I have accepted. And it's the journey that I'm actually, listening to.
Amazing. So it's a master transformation rock star.
Mhm.
So I know that you have a conference going on, and I'd like Miguel to show this, that you have a conference called the Awesome People Conference, right? And you have this 4 series or 4 episodes. So just tell us about these 4 episodes very briefly before we take up each of them on a we dive into it.
Yes. Rosario, we call it an Awesome People Conference. That is basically the general theme of the entire 4-day session. And then we've just basically segmented it and organized it in parcels, in portions of things that we feel are important in order to develop awesome people. So these are the 4 main elements divided in 4 different days. But in reality, how we perceive it and how we see it is that this is really not just a conference. It's actually the start of a movement. We wanted to create a movement, some sort of a crusade to remind people, hey, you're awesome and you're meant to do awesome work. In case you're forgetting, the pandemic is so huge that it sort of confused our mission, our calling, our journey, and our roles as leaders or as followers. Let us all remind ourselves again, this continues to be an awesome universe, an awesome world, an awesome workplace, and we continue to be the awesome people that we were born to become.
Wow. So basically you have 4 episodes of the team, the awesome life, the awesome communicator, and the awesome leader.
Yes.
So these 4 things we're going to be talking about. And I think what you're saying here is that the pandemic, unfortunately, has depleted our how do I call this? Our enthusiasm in life. Sometimes it has depleted it. And this is the time to be reminded that the life out there is so awesome that you shouldn't waste it just because there is a pandemic, right? So let's take away that poster now, because we want to talk about each of those segments of your show, or as you call it, it's not a conference, but what did you call it again? It is a movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
It is a movement.
Yeah, if I understand, it's a movement because people being in the pandemic situation are feeling down and depleted. So there is a need for a movement to revive your soul and your being and your purpose in here. Not just because it's a pandemic that you're going to be hostage forever and ever in this one. But first of all, you called it awesome. Why the word awesome? Why not any other adjectives like dynamic, creative, powerful, influential? Why awesome?
Because awesome is superlative. No, there is nothing that's gonna be greater than awesome. You talk about good, there's better, there's best. And when we actually put ourselves in a position where we keep comparing, it is actually so frustrating and so tiring to the soul. Awesome really means, we are imperfect beings, but we are actually living in perfect combination with each other. We are, utilizing our talents in the most creative, powerful way. And it begins with this little word in the word awesome, which is awe. Diba? Awe puts you in a state of magic. Awe puts you in a state of talagang Diba? You look at something
Yeah.
so huge, diba?
In
Namamangha ka, you
awe.
look at something so
Yeah.
huge, right? And
Yeah.
something so magnificent and brilliant. And what does that make you? That makes you so small. And that brings you to a state of humility. And in that state of humility, we stop putting our hand like this. We stop opening. We start to open up. We start to wonder. We start to be curious. We start to ask questions. These are important components in creating and transformation.
Wow.
Hence, it's the most powerful state, I believe, to begin magic and to begin creation and transformation again.
I like that. I'm in awe, listening to all what you're saying, really. And,
Mhm.
and you know, in this pandemic, and I see that your first episode or series of your Awesome People Conference is about the team. It's Awesome Team. So
Mhm.
let's start with your home, meaning not your home, but your own company of World Stage International as a team. How have you pivoted your team under the new normal of techno shift? You know, it's quite different. You know, how did you revive the team spirit?
Oh my greatness. It is so hard, Rosario, di ba? When this pandemic began, it was all confusion. I think it's not just for people in my team, but for almost, everyone here. We have been talking about prior to the pandemic, a lot of future proofing ourselves, our system, our people. But then we have been really very complacent in terms of our spirits. Now we're taking our time. We're not really very agile. And then one day we woke up to this pandemic that actually just made us all naked, gave us a big black eye, and caused us to actually be down on our knees. And we have no other choice but to rise up, be resilient, relentless, and move forward. Hence, there's no time to actually really just wallow, no time to actually, just whine. And there's, we cannot just have agile spirits. We need to have fired up, fire-agile spirits in order to get there. So there's a lot of unlearning, relearning, mindset shift to a totally new universe. And that is actually frustrating and tiring. But I think what got us here to where we are right now, as I look back through all the change process that we had in the organization, is that we are together. It's the culture, that bound us together. We have been working inordinate amount of hours together. And if we are not together and strongly connected with each other, all the heavy lifting that is required in this period of transformation is not going to happen. We have pivoted. Technology has been one of our greatest friends, thanks to so many, things happening around us. And we're able to leverage on that fast, thanks to the many young people we work with. Hindi natin to language. No? We are trained and we grew up in an analog world, Rosario. So thank you so much to the magic of young people who actually help us to be a little bit more digital. And I guess, the concatenation, the coming together of these kinds of different energies just helped us. The diversity helped us a lot in transforming. So now we're able to actually conduct our trainings 100% online. We call it on live. We have made it live and present, so that people continue to actually feel each other even when they are online.
I like what you've said. And, if I could just pick some of the words you're saying there, fragile versus agile. It's like our situation is so fragile with this pandemic. And to be agile is the thing to move forward to. And that's one of the things that I captured in what you're saying. And the other thing, as you said, on live and not online, because there's so many online, and I've seen my son doing online schooling. He's online, but he's not really live. You know what I mean? It's like, nah, not listening to you, but he's online, technically, but not live with the spirit of engagement. And I think that's what you mean is you're not just online, but you're on live because you are engaging and you are part of this revolution of a virtual meeting as a team. And the other thing I heard about you, oh my God, and the analog, we are the babies of the analog. And thank goodness for the young ones that has put us into the digital format and move us forward to be there. But most of all, despite all of this technology, you spoke of culture. How can you keep the culture on fire in this online, on live team building? I think, if I'm not mistaken, your first conference of the episode 1 or series 1 of November 25 is about team. And I guess culture has been discussed there. Is it?
Yes, definitely. It's, the main topic. It's the main star, culture. How do you build culture in an online setup? Well, culture is a verb. Culture, we declare our core values in culture at the very onset of when we formed organization. And then you hire people according to these core values. And then all of these people are the ones who will put life into it, who will embody it, and who will actually bring you through that journey. So every day is a process of discovery. Now, in this period, more than any part of the history of our culture, we are trying to relive it and to understand it again. Because when all of this confusion is happening, you have no other place to hold on to except your values, right? Before you even forge forward together. And so, to me, culture is a verb. It's something that we need to keep alive every time. It's something that needs to be part of our conversations. You talk about quality of work outputs. We need to talk about the quality of work outputs in many different layers and not just in the bottom line. We have to also talk about how people are relating to each other, how people need energy, how to fire up more people in the end to serve the mission of the company. But it has to be part of the conversation. So I guess, relationships continue to become an important component of online meetings, of this digital engagement. And it can happen. Rosario, I've seen a lot of magic happen. People laughing, people playing together, people, just trying to, get to know each other more. So I think this is actually the best time to develop culture.
That's very true, because I think this is the challenge with most companies now is how do you keep the culture, the fire of the culture burning? Because the old ways is that they thought they can keep the culture when you see the people in the office, which isn't. It has taken it in a different space. That culture is really about the leadership and how do you treat your people. You said it right. It's about relationship, and how the relationship is carried through by the company dictates the culture of the company one way or another. So, as you said, culture is worth spending for, meaning, how do you say that? It's an investment on people at the end of the day. That is the
Yes.
spending you invest on your people, right? Now,
Yes.
sorry, you were saying something.
I just want to say, because a lot of times, diba, the partners are going to ask us, what's the ROI of that training? No? And definitely, we've actually tediously gone through the process of trying to understand more how much every training, comes back in terms of more value to the company. But I think the first question we need to ask is another form of ROI, and that's called return of inspiration. When people are inspired, they are bound to actually work so much more over and beyond their pay scale, and they will produce more outcomes. We will always remind people, especially people in my team, I'll always remind them, you were hired not to work from 8 to 5, you were hired to produce an outcome. And so every day, the question you have to ask yourself is, what did I do in order to contribute to the outcome of the company? That's a more important thing than just ask yourself, what did I do today? And I guess, the quality of our questions will actually derive the quality of our answers.
You know what? I like what I hear from you is a new term that you have coined that it hit me. It's the return of inspiration and not the return of investment. Because through inspiration, you inspire others. So it creates exponentially benefits of inspiring more, and people work more because they're inspired and they produce more. And therefore, it becomes an investment on people at the end of the day. So it's really amazing, all the things that I'm learning from you on this one. Now, team, because of work from home, we spoke about the team. I think these are the things you've spoken during your first episode, but the work from home has mixed the problems of the home and of the person and the problems of the office. They have now coined into one person, into one space. It's not like I go to the office, I forget the problems of the house, but not anymore. It's in one box. The problem of your home, the problem of you, and the problem of the office. So how do you have you molded that together, and how do you reconcile this in order to still create the team needed for the direction of the company without compromise to the direction of his family?
They are not opposing energy, Rosario. If I learn leadership skill, I will bring it to my home and become a better mother. As that is my that is my expanded leadership role. And so, we are so used to as human beings compartmentalizing things and organizing it into categories. Work and life must be separate. Well, it's true to some extent to just give a little bit of sense of order to us. Well, it is also maybe the mindset that we should have is how wonderful it is, right? That, for one specific skill, we're able to address different parts of our life of being human, right? Communication skill can make us great leaders in companies. It can also make us great parents. And so, well, this is going to be temporary anyway. No, we will go back to, at worst, perhaps a hybrid system where we will do 50% digital, 50% face-to-face eventually. And then when the vaccine really becomes, all pervasive, then we're going to go back to the offices. So enjoy this temporary situation where you're able to actually just minimize traffic, minimize, the exhaustion from going from place to place and just, being able to do so many things in a short period of time. And for your family members to actually take a little peek at what you do at work and for them to understand and appreciate you more. I think that this is a magical time and we need to invite people, we bring sometimes people from families to our Zoom meetings just to say hello to mothers, to the brothers and sisters of the people that we work with, get to know each other more, put a little bit of a smile on their faces. So it is, we are probably asking the wrong question. How do we separate? Or maybe the right question is, how do we harmonize, right? How do we harmonize in this temporary situation where work and life are together? Finally, we've been asking for this work-life balance. Remember, people craved and pined for this. And now it is here. Now we are complaining about it. So how can ever the human spirit be satisfied and contented? We just need to actually accept it as the new norm. And I guess prosper from that. And that's called progress.
I think you said it right. Is how do you put harmony in both and to compartmentalize it when it's necessary. And I guarantee you that when the normal or the new normal comes in, that you can go to the office, a person will have a separation anxiety. They don't want to get out of the house anymore because they got used to it already and they manage to juggle it and things like that. And mental health is very key in this area, because if you don't get to harmonize it or compartmentalize it when needed, mental health is at jeopardy unless you put your life, unless you take charge of your life, which will come in the next of your episodes as well.
Yes, correct. Rosario, if I may just share it a little bit. Mental health right now is an issue, that's actually prevalent in a lot of people, in companies, and even in homes. When you talk about the concept of double bind, meaning, damn if you do, damn if you don't, diba? It puts us in a situation where whatever it is that we do, we're not winning anymore. We're working so hard at home, but we're not winning. We're working so hard in our lives, but we're also not winning. We're fighting with family members. So, in that particular situation where you are in a double bind, it usually leads to either of two things. The first one is mental health issue. I feel stuck. I feel useless. I feel I don't have the resources, the capacity to actually move forward and make a better outcome out of this problem. And so I feel depressed. I feel anxiety. I feel worried. That's the first. But it is also in that particular state of confusion or double bind where our most creative energy can actually surface if we allow it. Diba? So it's in situations where a lot of visionaries like Albert Einstein, right? They got stuck into this situation and then they said, okay, this is the dead end. And then all of a sudden there's a brilliant aha moment and then, that's it. And I go back to your first question, Rosario. Awesome, right? It is, in this double bind, in this feeling of stuckiness, in this feeling of I don't know where to go anymore, where I put myself in a state of awe, in a state of being humble. And I try to just open myself up to answers, and there will be answers. We've got to believe that we have all the resources we need in order to get through our problems.
I like everything that I'm hearing from you, because I like the double bind and how you said that the creative energy comes out at this moment, and it's up to you how you really utilize it, really, and comes of it. Now, I want to shift. Tony Hsieh, right? For our viewers there and listeners, that Tony Hsieh was an American internet entrepreneur and venture capitalist, He retired as a CEO of the online shoe and clothing company called Zappos in August 2020 after 21 years. But he also, prior to that, co-founded the internet advertising network called Link Exchange, which he sold in Microsoft for 265 million. So Tony just died, in the midst of the height of his career and success. He built a culture of happiness in Zappos. How do you feel about his work contribution to the people industry?
Before anything else, the death of Tony is, I don't know Tony on a personal base, but I'm feeling devastated and heartbroken. I was so close last year to actually join the culture camp, go to Las Vegas, to Zappos, to actually try and understand more the culture that he has built. Postponed it now, unfortunately. These things happen. I mean, his death is actually a big blow to culture.
Mhm.
Tony has done such a magnificent work, and I think he's done legacy work. And I hope people get to read his book, get to follow his story about how he has actually impacted on people, placed a lot of focus on people, and then the scores will just take care of itself. So they don't call themselves a shoe company, right? They are a service company, and they happen to be selling shoes. That's what a wonderful way to describe your vision, your mission as an enterprise.
So at least, even for you who's already an awesome transformational rock star, you still look up to people that you are inspired for. I think that's very important.
Yes.
Is that you don't just lift yourself, but you look up to people that becomes your icon, or somebody that you would like to be a semblance of. Now, so you had this awesome team conference, and all we've been talking about is about awesomeness of your team and how you've pivoted your team to this new digitech and so forth and so on. So you had this in November 25, and you have 3 more episode series coming in, and from this episode you have the life, the communicator, and the awesome leader. So the next one is going to be about life, because we spoke about mental health and so forth. You got to get hold of your life and get it to the right track and things like that. I want Miguel to please show the banner for the life, please. Here you go. Unbreakable frames, unshakable confidence, the awesome life. And this is going to be on December 5, right?
Yes, it is going to be on December 5, this Saturday, Rosario. I'll be expecting you there.
Wow. I like also the way you've put the image there is a life of flying and your hands up, because it is like you're ready to embrace anything in that matter. Why the awesome life? So from team, it progresses to life. Thank you, Miguel, for that poster. And with an unshakable confidence, because as you said, in this pandemic, our confidence has been shaken, that we feel suddenly, what's my purpose now? I have no resolution of the situation. I haven't unearthed my creativity in this crisis. So it's an unshakable confidence. How has he transformed or progressed from team to life? And what is awesome life all about?
I guess this is actually an answer in a way to the question that you asked, Rosario, about work-life balance, right? So when you talk about awesome teams, especially we're all so used to thinking teams in businesses and in enterprise. Now we go to life. They are not opposing energies. They are harmonized energy. And so whatever and whoever you are in team must be the person you will be in life. Sometimes you'll be a little bit more creative, right? There are certain energies, like you need to be a warrior in the office, but you're a lover at home, right? And so there are 2 different energies, but they are not opposing. They are complementing each other. So awesome life is all about making us remember again that, through all of these things happening, when a lot of our conversations have turned sour and bitter and negative, that it truly still is an awesome life. And it really is just a reminder. There's nothing to actually prophesize about that. It's really just, we're ringing the bell here, guys, and making our sounds a little bit louder than the inner voices that you're hearing, so that we get to remember again that we are so blessed and privileged to be a part of this awesome world.
It was just Thanksgiving here in America.
Yes, happy
Although it's not
Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Although it's not celebrated worldwide, but it keeps us be reminded that despite in this pandemic madness, there's still so much to be thankful for and grateful. Uh, you know, having life is something to be grateful for, and having reinvented yourself is something to be grateful for, and having
Yes.
an awesome conference that you offer to the people and to the world is something to be really grateful for. So who are your featured speakers that we will learn from in this awesome live conference?
Yes, thank you. First and foremost, Rosario, you did mention Thanksgiving. So I really want to take this time, from the bottom of my heart to really say I appreciate you and I thank you for coming to us and for doing all of this, this show with us and for us. And helping us actually just put forth this message to the world. So thank you for being our guardian angel, I guess. In terms of the speakers for Awesome Life, it's all about NLP plus many, many more. NLP is neuro linguistic programming. It is something that I have tried to learn a lot so that we could actually believe that we are, problem solvers and we are not victims of the circumstances around us. We could take charge no matter what's happening around us. And we take charge of three things, no? The mind, our language, our emotions, our state, and our behavior. The other thing without hurting people, without making people hate situations. So that's a lot. There's a lot of art there. And when you are an awesome communicator, you become an inspiring leader. You become an inspiring person. And that's when you affect change and you create an impact. Otherwise, you are really just throwing out words and nobody's listening. And in worst case, you're actually hurting or making it even worse. So it's important that we learn the skills to become master communicators. We cannot be amateur communicators.
I like that because earlier you said about the art of listening. You have to have the art of listening in as much as the art of communicating. Because if you don't listen, it's hard to communicate also effectively for the people to listen to you too. Because if you don't listen, they won't listen too. So the art of communication is really very important to increase more results the way you want. Is communication something that can be manipulated? There are some manipulator in terms of communicate. It's like when they talk of conspiracy, repeatedly talking of conspiracy theories. What do you say about that? So communication can be good and can be bad.
Yes, all communication is manipulation. All communication, when we are communicating, we're trying to actually limit the frame by which people will actually try and make judgments and conclusions, right? So in effect, it is manipulation. However, when the difference between manipulation and real influence is really the intention. Diba? One has, if I want to influence you, my intention is actually generative, collective good. We are actually going towards the same purpose. And no matter how it looks, too conflicting on the outside, at the end of the day, we try and build win-win, results. That's collaboration. That takes up a lot of energy. And that's the reason why people get tired and patient with negotiations or collaborations. And when we need to be responsible for the consequences of our communication. So when we are when we're talking to our children, we are manipulating them in a sense, making them think according to the standards or the measures that they will be measured accordingly. And it's so important that we are also responsible for the consequences of that communication. If we actually take that with tedious care, win-win results, and being responsible for the consequences of our communication, we become professional communicators. And I think it's a skill that we will need to build in order for us to actually become impactful as individuals.
So really it's to be accountable of what you communicate and the consequences it may bring or the benefits it may bring. So you're basically saying is that the act of communication is very important and the skill to have it. But the intent is the most important thing about communication. The intent and the content of what you're saying. Because,
Correct.
The powerful content is very key because words that you say can manifest action or can result action, as you say.
Words are so powerful. You open the right file, you open the right actions, right? Sometimes you do not need to invest on so many things in order to just move people to do something. It just requires a word. It just requires a certain tonality in words. It just requires a certain look, leaning in, paying attention to them, making them feel important and visible. That's enough. That's enough in order to make people move and agree or do some things even though they don't agree to it. And so it is. I think it is a skill. It's an art, but it should come from a place of authenticity. Right, and that there is actually good intention at the very, very core, even when the content is going to be hard and challenging.
You hit it right. Authenticity is very important. Because otherwise, it may sound you are scripted. You're just telling that because you think that's what we want to hear. But being authentic, it just reminded me when sometimes you go retrenchment, on how you communicate the bad news is very important because you can cushion the impact by the way you deliver the message in an authentic and showing concern for the implications of what's going to happen. It's like, you can deliver a bad news in a way that the impact to the person is not as hard as it could have been, right? And you can deliver the good news that you can make it dry or you can make it really exciting. It's really how you deliver it, really, and it always comes from leadership, right? And from the team, and from I go back to your episode of team life communication. The team is how you communicate the culture and how you can make it alive. So the content of what you're saying has to be consistent. So if you're very inconsistent, you confuse the team, right?
Yes.
And you confuse their lives. So the consistency, sincerity, authenticity, and the content is very powerful. Amazing. So that's why. So what does communication have to do with being awesome? I guess I know the answer, but I want to hear from you. Communication being awesome?
Yeah, I guess, it's like, again, I go back to the state of awe. It's like namamangha yung tao na parang, I don't like what I will do, but there is something that you did that just irrationally made me, naked to your persuasion. And as a result of that, I'm going to follow you till the ends of the earth because you are somebody who's credible to me. You're somebody who I trust. And that is all, communicated through words, through your body language, through tonality. And so it is so important, when you talk about communication, you pay attention to three things. These are 3 M's: the message, the messenger, and the medium. When we're able to combine these so well and so resourcefully, appropriate, then we're able to actually, get to the right direction. It's so awesome, Rosario, right? Our power, you're saying, good news can be dry and bad news can be exciting. It depends on how you actually carry the message through. And that tells us that we have so much power. And we look at this power with excitement, not as a burden. And if we look at this with enthusiasm, then we are going to actually get there and try and improve ourselves. And that's called progress.
It excites me a lot. I'm a commerce graduate. But I never really used it until I became an anchor and used the communication. And we know this is a platform, very important. But I see one of your guests is Tony Gonzaga, as one of your guests here. She's a TV personality. But let's hear. I know she's got a teaser inviting everybody. So Miguel, can we show Tony Gonzaga?
Hi, awesome people. This is Tony Gonzaga, and I'm inviting all of you to bring your awesome selves. Let's all be present. Let's encourage, uplift, and build up one another on November 25 up to January 20, which is my birthday. But I will be on the January 16th conference on how to be a communicator and how to express ourselves, express what we feel inside so that we can be more open, be more vulnerable, and be more, open to many opportunities that are waiting for us in life. I can't wait to see you all, and let's stay awesome, let's stay blessed, and see you there.
That's very exciting. You have Tony Gonzaga, and I like her teaser and things like that. What will she talk about? Obviously, I think she's going to inspire a lot of people. But in a gist, can you tell us what scope of talk on the communication she's going to tackle?
We're gonna have a little bit of a fireside chat with Tony, and she's really just going to share her story, how she began. We look at Tony as somebody who's like very influential and inspiring, right? And she has a lot of great, beautiful message and content. And we look at her, we feel a sense of awe. Wow, diba? And I think it's important that, for us to understand that she began somewhere humble, somewhere, amateur, and then she progressed into something, utilizing the resources, gathering whatever is there available for us. So we're gonna just get a little bit of an insight, a little bit of a peek, a preview of how she was able to do it and how she was able to progress there. So, I'm very excited about the things that she will share.
That's amazing. And who other guests you have there? I know you're also speaking there, right?
Yes, and well, I wanted to share with you, Rosario. I'm going to, we have with us, it's a privilege to have with us, one of the FW and most influential women, in the world, and that's you. And so thank you so much for saying yes. I am very inspired by your own story, Rosario. I mean, how you've also began humble beginnings, and then you've been there, leading a group of thousands of people, and generating huge positive outcomes for your company. And then now you're here sharing your story, being an anchor. So we also are looking forward, leaning in, trying to, learn more from your story, Rosario.
Thank you. I look forward to, and I'm very honored that you've asked me also to speak with Tony Gonzaga. Obviously, she's the main feature, but to be in the category of Tony Gonzaga elates me, and thank you for that privilege.
Would you like to share, Rosario, what you're going to talk about as a little bit of a teaser?
Yes, I'm going to talk about really my life journey as a communicator, but not as a radio anchor necessarily, but how I have used communication as a very powerful tool in crafting my journey. I started my career as a telephone operator. So you could say SGS hello is a communication way that gives the voice waves into that one. But as a telephone operator, I have progressed my career to become a CEO. And along that way is how you present yourself and how you communicate in a male-dominated corporate world, and then achieve a position that I've never dreamt of. But simply because your body language and your communication to the people has been very clear to them that you can deliver and that you have something to offer. But at the end of the day, when you communicate, you must be able to deliver what you commit, because your words is powerful. If you say you can do it, make sure you commit to do it. And if you're going to make not a good success of it, be able to communicate it too and be authentic about it. I think those are the journey that I would like to express to the viewers there and the listeners for the January 16 on the effective communicator. And on the other side, my hat as a mother, I feel how to communicate with my son, who is an LGBTQ, how he has told me when he revealed himself that he is, and how I have communicated back in order to make sure the relationship is not damaged, but I am there to help him consistently communicate that I'm there to help him out as we go along. And now being an anchor is how do I communicate to the world on how to be successful in this new world normal. So I hope your viewers and your guests and participants will get something out of my humble life journey from a telephone operator to the corporate world. And from the corporate world, I backed out for family focus, and how I have reinvented myself in the pandemic way, using communication as a number one skill.
I want to say that, Rosario, I watch you talk, I watch you move, and I've watched you when you were in Canada, and I've really just been in awe. So I am very thankful for this friendship. But I think if there's one thing that I wanted to say, which I perceive you to be, you're a rainmaker. Rainmaker is, the height of influence, where you're in your capacity, just by being yourself, your credible self, you're able to actually form connections and connect people together. And I think, you mentioned, and that was your very first question to me when we began this whole interview, is, what does influence mean over fluency? Influence is when you are a rainmaker, when through your connections, I don't mean connection, we talk about politics, connection, but I really truly think it's the relationships that you form, and you're able to actually bring desired results, whether it's profit, it's money, it's relationships, it's better states or feelings to people. When we are able to move people, we become inspiring, we become influential. And this is basically the core of the message of this entire day. It's your communication can drive change.
That's true. Well, thank you very much for those kind words. I really truly believe that if you communicate with integrity and you communicate with authenticity, you become a magnet. And as a magnet, you become a magnet of people that wants to be associated with you. And that magnet becomes a replication of good deeds. Because if they see you have good deeds, you will attract good deeds. If they see that you are evil, magnet will repel. They don't want to be associated in that. And you said it. The network is not just connection, but it is a magnetism of doing good deeds collectively, because you have delivered your communication very clear of what you stand for and who you are.
Yes.
Wow. Thank you
Rosario,
very much.
I'm sorry, if I may add, I think exciting about this awesome communicator session is this among the entire 3 days more really content heavy in terms of skills that they will learn. And what we were doing here is I'm very, very proud to actually feature two of my, greatest show people in our team who will teach us two things. And that is actually, the message and the medium. So we're going to talk about how to develop content, and it's wonderful for trainers, for HR practitioners, or for those who are doing train the trainer, those who wanted to speak. How do you create that story? How do you create that narrative and put it in a form of how do you put together the data and make a great story out of it? And the other one is really trying to understand medium, and that is, how do you play around with all the technology, all the innovations that's needed in order for us to, to leverage on what's available, not to get frustrated, not to get techno stressed at all. So these are going to be actually led by two people, two energies in my team, Angeline Lee and Eliza Fantabella. And so we're very excited also to feature them as speakers of this conference.
That's amazing. They will complement what the message is about. And I always believe the message matters. It's just like if they talk about Black Lives Matters, the message matters. What comes out of your mouth matters, the content and how you deliver it. And great with your team teaching us on the best medium to reach it exponentially and really make waves of good deeds and change. So superb. Yeah, so to recap, you have an awesome team last November 25, and you have an awesome live on December 5, and on January 16 is the awesome communicator. And now, the most awaited episode is about leadership, which is the awesome leader, hand in hand with its team as they navigate life towards a successful 2021. But before they once again that they could see these 4 segments. So before we talk about the leadership, Miguel, let's play once again just the video teaser of the awesome conference. Wow. Okay. So let's get started to talk about the leadership. This is for me also the most awaited and the pinnacle of it. Finally, you have the awesome leaders. And what kind of leadership will bring us out of this crisis? And what do you think are the most important leadership traits, Cherry?
I think if there is one word that I truly think we need for 2020 beyond, it's, a visionary leader. Somebody who will tell us the vision, because we're all confused here and we're all trying to learn new things. And there will be people who will be technician leaders who will tell us what to do. But without a visionary leader, we're all going to be lost, right? And vision is actually the component of vision. That is wisdom and imagination. Wisdom is you look at experiences and all the patterns that you have, and you try and make sense out of it, and then you try and make an educated guess moving forward. But you require imagination. It's how you form things, how you're trying to actually visualize things, and then analyzing it to the present so that it can be present to people who will be doing the job. So that is the kind of leader I think that we need to have and that brings a lot of excitement and energy into the team, into the culture, right? That they get inspired. So that's one thing. Your question about leadership traits, there are many leadership traits that we need. No? I think the one thing that we need to have as a leader is somebody who's able to actually just try and make things simpler. Make things simpler. When we try to enroll people into the conversation and try to get as many ideas as possible, which we need, a generative leader needs to do that so that people feel needed. At the end of the day, we sort of complicate the entire system. So you have a problem with so many ideas and things get complicated, meetings get stretched. An awesome leader is somebody who's going to actually simplify things and then not end there and then come up with great solutions, great elegant solution. It's elegant it's simple. You made everything so simple and make the solution elegant. So it brings a little sense of aha. So there's like a bolt of new refreshed energy. It's not like it's a recycled solution. We've done it before. Okay, it's boring and everything. People are getting excited no matter how repetitive the solutions are. And it takes a great leader to actually do that, to shift energy so that people are actually more buoyant and more excited, and they give more of themselves to the whole process. I also think a leader should learn to actually just hold the spaces of everybody. People are diverse. We all come with different ideas, different thoughts, and sometimes they're divergent, sometimes they're opposing. A great leader actually finds similarities and commonalities of all of these ideas and make people believe that they are not wrong. They are able to hold their stories and then combine all of this into one right solution or one right path. And that requires a lot of influence, Rosario. So I go back to, we need to be influential, impactful. We need to land somewhere, I guess. No? Dapat may landing tayo. Influence, I think, having a vision and being able to actually understand the real problem and analyzing it and then coming up with elegant solutions.
It's amazing because if I hear you correctly, I go back to your conference, which starts from the team, and then life, and then communication, and then leadership. If you put that in a circle, it is team leadership. It is not just one leader leading the pack, but it is a team leadership because of resolutions that has been communicated and how to resolve it and through the art of listening. So very important, especially now with the pandemic and the world on fire negatively, but on fire that it needs the right leader to heal, you know, and character matters. For me, a leader is all about character because the character defines you. And if you're not authentic, then that's what is your definition as a person. Uh, this is really making me very excited because, with the team, live communication, and then about leadership, because it's so timely. What type of leadership will take us through 2021? As you said, it's a visionary with lots of imagination because the old school of resolution doesn't work anymore in the future. And you hit it right, conflict resolution. And the resolution, just because people have different ideas, doesn't mean they cannot go into a one direction. And the diversity of team. I'm going to put you on the spot of a question. This is controversial. Team leadership is a woman's trait or a man's trait? A man traits or a woman's trait that is ideal for the leadership of tomorrow.
It should be gender free. It should be a people trait. Uh, we put a lot of hype about, separating people together, separating people, millennials, the baby boomers, the Gen Xs, the males, the females, even females, a group of 100% females, they are still going to oppose each other. There's still so many conflicting and different energies. And the good news about that is we're just really unique, unique combination. So there's no gender to this. I mean, as long as we put people, the present position is people matters first, then you are on the right path. There are female traits, passion, more alive, perhaps, as what you're saying, di ba? It is pandemic where it's required that people feel, that they are in one collective, that they're cared for, that's the right, that's the reason why a lot of female-run nations are succeeding more. Uh, there is, a lot of articles we read about that. There are also male traits of leadership that we need. The warrior energy, right? The critical energies. So these are all important. So, but I have a lot of male traits in me as a leader, and my husband has a lot of female traits in him as a leader. So it's important for us to actually, let's not forget the word trait. Female traits and male traits can happen and can be in our bodies, and I guess that's the great paradox of being human. So it's again, I think in my personal opinion, not the right question. It's really, the right question is what are the traits that's needed, so that we could be more people centered, so that teams can actually move as far as possible. And women have places in leadership. must have these in leadership.
Incredible. It is genderless. Leadership is genderless, as you said. It's
Mhm.
just traits or combination of the brain and the heart put in the center, and how do you execute?
Yes.
Wonderful. So it's really the inclusivity, whatever spectrum of gender you are, LGBT, whatever alphabet you have, it's not really a male trait and a female trait or a gay trait or a lesbian trait. No, it
Mhm.
is encompassing, as you said, it's genderless. And at the
Mhm.
end of the day, it's the character of the person inside
Mhm.
which becomes a nucleus of great leadership. Now, thank you so much for everything that I've learned from you. You know, it's making me even more excited. And I hope those organizations there, please don't forget to register your people. And I want to show you again the poster of your 4 episodes. Can we show that again, Miguel? There you go. So to recap, maybe you can tell us very quickly on this 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yes, Rosario, November 25 has passed, but we continue to actually work with forming awesome and building awesome teams inside companies and cultures. And so this is one of the biggest things that we stand for in our mission, that is to build collective tribes in companies so that cultures are strong and cultures are building business. So that's, but then on Saturday, this is actually going to happen also live. We're bringing in experts in NLP and human behavior to just try and remind us what we already know, that this truly is an awesome life. Take charge of what's happening around us. And then we end the year strong and happy. And Merry Christmas to all of us. And then we wake up to 2021, the first year after the pandemic year, to try and build our skill set as professional communicators. January 16th, Rosario is going to be with us. I'm proud that she's going to grace the show and share with us a lot of her wisdom bombs. That is going to be awesome communicator. And then we end it all very well for us, trying to understand what is our role or our mission in life. Leadership is not a job title. Leadership is a mission. All of us are called to be leaders. More leaders are better than few leaders. So let's try and build the leadership skills in us. January 20 is the magic day for this. So we have invited people in the public sector, in enterprise, in human development, to try and teach us a little bit of what they know about being great, awesome leaders.
Now, I should continue to promote this in social media. They should never miss this awesome people conference for you. And for the viewers and listeners there, we have a little trivia question with a prize that we will give you at the end of the show. We will let you know that when is the Awesome Life Conference going to be? So if we had the Awesome Team on November 25, the next one is the Awesome Life Conference. So just key in any of our websites, and we will find out who's the first one who will put it in the social media of the Awesome Life Conference for the next one on Awesome Life. So, well, I'd like to thank you very much, Cherry, for investing your time with us. I really enjoyed talking to you. Each time that I speak to you, I learn more about the different facets. Cherry, you're really awesome. You're like a diamond, diamond, not just in the rough, but the perfect diamond. So thank you very much, Cherry, for joining us. Maybe you could just let them know how they can register to their show.
A million tons of thank you to you, Rosario, Miguel, and all the people from B81. Thank you so much for going through all this, trouble, energy, whatever you call it, all this wonderful, energies to just help us actually just get this word out in the universe. So thank you for that. In order, if you are interested to join us, there are actually 90 a little bit of few addresses that you could actually visit, try and learn more about how you will get involved. If you are not available on all of the things, you could also call us and we could come to your companies, your teams to help you go through this journey of building awesome teams, awesome leaders, and building the right skills necessary for us not just to thrive but to win in this pandemic. There is growth before, during, and after the crisis, and we are here to actually assist you through the process. Thank you so much, Rosario, for everything.
So just to repeat, it is for them to email for query or registration, Sarah at worldstageinternational.com. or
Not PH.
not PH, of course, it has the PH. And cat at worldstageinternational.com.ph. There you have it. Well, thank you very much, Jerry. I know you still have to travel for your next appointment, so I've eaten up your time, but we enjoyed very much having you at our show, and we shall continue to promote the Awesome People Conference. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, type in the message. When is the Awesome People Live Conference? I think it's in the 25, but if you're the first one, you're gonna get a prize. Thank you, and have a good day.
You too.
Now,
Be awesome. Be awesome. Thank you so much.
all right, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't miss out on the awesome conference, awesome team, awesome life, awesome communicator, and the awesome leader. This conference is about you. It is you who will make the difference for the world to heal. It is you for which the businesses will flourish, and it is you for the economy to recover, and for our life to be an inspiration to all. Please register soon. If I remember correctly, if you want to register, email Sarah at worldstageinternational.com or cat at worldstageinternational.com. But please don't go away. Our next segment is about you. And how? Because it is about you, how the corporate world values you as a talent to grow your career, a new career for you, and a new role, and to be the purpose of your life. With Michelle Garcia, our regional HR of Dixcom and former president of the Philippine Management Association of the Philippines, or PMAC, as we exchange views with Michelle's insights of talent management in pandemic and how 2021 will be a better world for you. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
We'll be back shortly. This is Top Shop Asia Global USA Edition. Only here on 81 Radio Worldwide.
Hi, awesome people. This is Tony Gonzaga, and I'm inviting all of you to your awesome self, presence. Let's encourage, uplift, and build with one another on November 25 up to January 20, which is my birthday. But I will be at the January 16th conference on how to be a communicator and how to express ourselves, express what we feel inside so that we can be more open, be more vulnerable, and be more, open to many opportunities that are waiting for us in life. Can't wait to see you all, and let's stay awesome, let's stay blessed, and see you there.
Now back to Top Shop Asia Global. Only here on 81 Radio Worldwide.
Welcome back to Talk Shop Asia Global USA. is reimagining management of talent and career development under the new abnormal and business unusual. We work from home situation. What are the latest trends that has been pushed by the situation of the madness of the pandemic? And is there any leadership drawn from this disruption? Most of all, how do you maintain the culture of the company and maintain a positive workplace and maintain the integrity and the trust even though your people are working away from your work. So, before we dive and the dialogue with Michelle Garcia, who is in the world of talent strategy and new trends brought about by this discussion, I'd like to show to you the banner of our industry. You know,
Out of the pandemic, things solved the same way before. Creativity needed to see beyond, decipher the adaptive and effective ways for a new dimension roadmap for businesses, reimagine its industry beyond the pandemic.
we promise you an exciting discussion with the industry experts about talent management. Our guest today is Michelle Garcia, who is currently the Asia Pacific HR head of Dexcom. Dexcom is a biotech medical company that provides the containment of glucose and management of glucose in a patient situation. She is also past president of the 2018 People Management Association of the Philippines, so leading all the industry heads, senior leaders, and practitioners of HR in the whole of the Philippines. And by the way, she was my colleague in SGS, joined SGS twice. So that's how she loves people in SGS and nurture them and develop them. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very proud to present a very good partner in mine in the corporate world and a mentor as well, Michelle.
Hi, Rosario. Good morning. Magandang umaga, magandang hapon sa lahat ng ating kababayan. Thank you for having me here, Rosario. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Well, thank you for investing your time with us. I know how busy you are. You are so hard to catch. You're like, ta, 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 ta. But I read all of your posting and everything. But before we dive into the topic and interview, I would like to greet you happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you so Thank you, Rosario. Ayan na, I'm celebrating with you.
Thank you, and always making it so special. And wow, let's get started. But before anything else, we need to go in strategy. How's your journey? How did you go to this career path?
A long, long history. I've been in progress. Most of my career, I was really at the right time who've invested in my career. And I remember during my earlier years, in my first company, Asian Institute of Management, that was the time that I really had a choice between do I go business side or do I go HR side? Opportunities to choose either of the two. And I remember they sent scholarships both from business management and also sent me as a scholar to an organization development course. Which route you want to take. And I clearly remember I said I love doing HR, I love being with people, I like organizations support, employee development at that time. That's how I started. And then throughout the years, my longest stint was with SGS. And I think, you also gave me that choice whether I would do operations or I would do HR. And, I think we had long coaching sessions. And I said to myself, my heart is really HR. And not for anything else. I really look at my HR as an advocate. Because I find that everything that we do in HR is all about helping people, right? And it's not about being pro employees all the time. My view has always side with the organization, not with the management, not with employees, but with the organization. You have to choose the right organization, right? Especially those that shares the same values and those with high integrity. It's very important. So in my journey throughout the years, it's very clear in my heart, in my mind that I am an entrepreneur and I'm here to enable organizations through people. And I think that's my strength. So I'm here doing things I'm passionate about and doing things I love most.
I thank you very well. Succinctly, is that you have to do something that you're very passionate and on that basis you will shine. But I just wanted to tell and reflect upon. I remember when you left SGS, and then I quoted you for at least 6 months to come back. And thank you for coming back, and you've seen the mission there that we needed your expertise and your experience and insights to help us transform the company to what it is now and has been. So thank you for that. And I'm very grateful to you because as a CEO again, to have the right partner gives us a better.
Yeah. And thank you for the opportunity as well. My journey with SGS. If I look back, talagang that's the part of my career that told me who I am right now as a practitioner. Sabi nga nila in Tagalog, ibay ng panahon, as a very complex organization, and business line. The visionary CEO at that time. Really, very empowering for me, and on different stages of the organization. Because I remember that I joined at the time that we are opening a back office. And then I joined the commercial division. And then we combined the two entities. And then we expanded to one, two, we opened Cebu, and then we went regional. So different stages. And again, it's all about HR plus, talent management, and to your point, there's the difference. So, yeah, very, very empowering.
Well, I know you, Michelle, that you get bored when there's nothing to transform or to mold. So, although pandemic was a disruption that we all did not expect, but that did not make you bored at all, I'm sure. My question, what has made you very busy? In a very brief answer, what were the first thing you did when suddenly pandemic lockdown was announced and everything else? Take note, your company is a back office
Yes.
that provides healthcare and wellness. And it's a U.S. company back office in the Philippines. So I know you get bored easily, but when there's a big change, you don't get bored. But I think this one never made you bored, but there's some fear around it. What did you do first and what made you busy?
That's very true, Rosario. At first, mixed emotions, right? At first, it was so confusing. It was so confusing because, people at that time, and you remember sometime March 10th, 15, when the news about COVID started, a lot of questions, right? Were floating. People were not aware what it was, paano siya kumakalat, how come it's a pandemic, how come related to this quarantine, how serious is it? And then add to that is also that the differing agency announcements from out here in the Philippines. So every day there are updates in the guidelines that we need to do as an organization. And being part of the DCC is also confusing because you were planning for something this day, and then in the afternoon you will receive a new guideline that will altogether change your plans, right? So it was confusing, it was scary in a way because again you are operating in a situation wherein everybody doesn't know the answer because it was unpredictable, because it was something very new. Plus, employees were scared, businesses, there's a lot of questions altogether. So there were a lot of thinking, but very, very fast thinking. There was a lot of fast decision making. There were even instances wherein we had to say, all right, I'm not sure what will happen, but let's take a decision. Better to make the wrong decision than not to make any decision. Right? So, ang daming ganon scenarios. But in the span of 1 week, when things are getting clearer, I think we were all very busy about number one, how do we ensure our employees, how do they continue working and helping the organization despite, of course, being closed. So we had different models wherein majority of our employees were sent home so that we can work from home. But we also had a small group of employees who remained on site and we were very, very grateful to those employees. We call them the malasakit because they volunteered to actually stay in the office, Rosario, and we had to book them in hotels near the office, and they were not allowed to go home because at that time the regulations were very strict. You cannot be a quarantine zone, right? So just imagine in times of pandemic, you're away from your family, you need to go and check on them. So we were very, very thankful to this of ours. Plus, all those who willingly share their home space with the organization, we're also very grateful and thankful because somehow, it also disrupted the home, right? And it's not easy for a lot of employees to do that. So there were a lot of those during the first 1 or 2 weeks. And then, it evolved. It evolved in the sense that, we're trying to monitor are people really working, are they productive, are they able to connect to the internet, which was the first issue that we had. And, here in the Philippines, sometimes the connectivity is erratic, unlike in the United States, for example. So it added to the challenge, of, setting up the workstations because it's not an easy set. We have our own tools that we need to configure properly before people can effectively work. So during the first few weeks, Rosario was all about setting it up, making the home a good workplace for the employees and safeguarding the safety of those few people who remain on site to be our parang core skeletal workforce. Now, if something happens, we will make sure we have that core group of people who will continue to support our patients.
Wow, you have said it so concisely that I can imagine the chaos that has happened.
Very interesting. Very, very
Yes. I wonder, now that I'm not in the corporate world, I ask myself, would I want to be in the shoes? Okay. I wonder that. And I told myself, yes, I want to be the CEO still when that chaos happens because you know that you are reframing the whole world that it matters to the lives of many. Anyway, hearing what you said, this is what I heard. Communication is very key because of all the confusion, consistent communication is key, whether with the pandemic or not, but even more in this pandemic, consistent communication of direction. Let's move forward, let's move backward, let's sleep, let's go there. I think that's very, very, very well. And then you said about people volunteering. People volunteering, I think it's very good because then there is people who cares about the company and who cares about customer continued service. And I think that's very important for that one. And of course, in the management and the leadership, productivity, continued service, the public, and controversial, the digital connectivity. That is very good. So I like what you said here, and it's like you said, within 1 week, you have to rebuild the office. So it's like building, I don't want to call it this way, building from ground zero. Okay? Because everything else that is happening is thrown out the window. It's a clean slate. What do we do with the new business model?
And that's very good, Rosario, because I remember first, first we made the decision to actually rent another site. Our office is just in the but as that we're moving, we realize that we have employees who cannot go to the site, cannot reach the site, who doesn't have connectivity. So what do we do with them? So part of the decision was actually to let our site in Alabang. And we closed it very, very quickly. We were able to set up that office very quickly. We had X number of seats available for all our. So yes, it's from step zero, from ground zero. And if I look back, you are also absolutely correct. Rapid decision making is important. The collaboration of different departments, our IT, our operations, our facilities, our procurement team, HR team, everybody. Ang bilis. Everybody has to be make. We have to make sure that we're all in. And why during that period it was more of course we had brainstorming and collaboration, but not as extensive as before because we needed to make very, very quick decisions. So everybody was really just supportive, focused on what was at stake, focused on the strategy that was in place because at the end of the day, our priority is our employees and of course continuously delivering our vision.
What you've demonstrated there is the leadership of today. Me at the time, a fast thinker, a risk thinker, a fast thinker. You cannot dilly-dally on making a decision because it matters in the lives of men. You mentioned disruption. It's a major disruption. The word disruption has been a word that has been coined for many years already, but it has never been this magnitude of disruption that we've ever imagined. I would be very absurd on this one, but the disruption was not just business, but it was on the world to the most little things. Which disruption is the most little thing? I'll give an example. My dog Muffin. This world was disrupted. He was shocked that I am home 24/7 for a long time. But it's a positive disruption for her. But what I'm trying to say is it has touched the life of every living thing and even non-living thing that we could have ever imagined. Now, I'm going to jump on another subject that you said about you joining a company with a culture that is in sync of your core values, which is one of them being integrity. Right? Now, talking about culture of a company. With such work from home, you know, when we were managing SGS and we were managing other companies, the culture of a company is very important to do consistently. We create programs, so much visibility, and so forth. But with the work from home, with invisibility, you cannot see them. How do you drive and maintain the spirit of the culture of the company for what it stands for and maintain its trust into its employees that things are going to be done according to the mission and vision, but maintaining the
Yeah. You mentioned the right words, Rosario. Two words: consistency and trust. When I reflect, I realize that when leaders consistently, with or without pandemic, right? People will somehow have that sense of assurance that they already know how their leaders will take care of them, how leaders will make their decisions because they're very consistent. And if the consistency is always anchored on the mission and the core values of the organization, then instantly would more or less have a hint of, all right, this is likely what they will do because this is our consistency in the behaviors and actions of the leaders. The second one is trust, and I think that's the most important thing that keeps everybody going. Because you really have to rely and trust that the people around you will do the right thing. Uh, Again, with this pandemic, there's no time to expect. There's no time to make wrong assumptions about the gestures of action of somebody else, right? And trust for me is something that you earn. And it's something that you earn over time. So you've been consistent as a leader and you've been, very transparent to your employees in terms of who you are as an organization and how you manage them, how you lead them, then trust. And I think in this particular case, it helped us a lot that our employees trust our organization will make the right decision. Not easy decisions because sometimes it's really very, very challenging. But when you are transparent, when you tell people exactly what's happening, somehow you build trust, right? And for me, that's also integrity. You're not sugarcoating, you're not hiding things, even if it's a tough information to share, you still share it because you know that people will understand. And again, different approaches, different ways of communicating, but when you are transparent, people appreciate, and I think again, related with and the second one is how you show yourself. It's difficult to explain, but we know it when people are sincere. We know when people are actually being truthful with you, or ay wala. They're just making it up so that people will feel okay. But if they see that the organization and the leaders are sincere and honest, again, trust is real. And I think in our scenario, it's really the trust that binded us all together, even up until now. Because again, we're very transparent in telling people. We just had our town hall this week, and one of the questions asked is, "Until when are we going to work from home?" Right? And we said that we see that it will be up until the end of the year. We're not sure until when next year, but we will keep. And that's the real answer, right? So we're not making up answers, but we're telling people the truth. And again, when we will get back to them, we go get back to them. They think that's a
That's an interesting thing you said at the last part, which is the commitment, really, is that when you promise that you'll get back to them, you will. So you, it's really the trust, and the development of trust is keeping to your word and action for the words that you said. Consistency, trust, sincerity, and commitment. Now, I go back to culture, maintaining the culture. I hear what you say, which is when there's trust within the organizations, trust in the leadership, the people will feel it and will follow through to what has to be carried on. But how can one really, uh, how do I say it? Could you put it into your finger or really point a specific action or collective actions that is contributory to the maintenance and driving and emphasizing that this is the culture of the company?
Hmm. Different interventions probably and different approach. But my experience personally, it always starts with how the leaders behave within the organization. We've always heard about it on right? We've heard about you don't need to teach people how to behave because they observe and they watch and then they learn. So for me, influence leaders, the character of the leaders help define the culture of the organization. That even if they don't have programs, culture programs, branding programs, what they see is what they interpret as, all right, this is how it is in this. So the way the leaders behave, the way they deliver the message, the way they react on occasions where it's very, very challenging will help shape and define the culture. Now, in that context, sometimes it's just a perception of the employee, right? And perceptions cannot not all the time is correct, but it's very, very true. So when employees see that leaders are behaving in this manner, they need to introduce that to the culture of the organization. And I think in this time of pandemic, wherein we don't have the time to invest on interventions that will help the culture, it's really how the leaders will transpire and translate their actions to within the culture of the organization. But then, of course, it has to be followed through with more communication coming from the middle management down to sometimes they behave in a certain way, but if the middle leadership is not consistent with how the top leaders are behaving, then we will have some inconsistency. People will be confused about what really is happening, right? So that the entire leadership team, the management team has to be consistent. They have to be in sync. They have to work together as a team. And I think, and that's not new, right? That's new. However, now more than before, I think the most important thing to show the employees, show the people that you are working as one team, aligned to the mission of the organization, communicating consistently to them.
It's true. Leadership is all about character. Character defines you. I remember those words. We were doing some video about leadership before in our previous life in SGS. But Viacom is a company that promotes wellness. And I would think aside from the core value of integrity as being it's a culture of giving wellness to the customer. And from what you have described to me earlier, that you have looked after about the wellness and welfare of your employees. So it starts from there as the culture because they have to be taken care of before they could even give the service to your clientele. So there are many ways, I believe, on how to demonstrate the culture maintenance, but you know it very right. It starts from leadership. Now, talent management and development. You know, with people now not within your reach physically, you do not see how the productivity is. And of course, with the technology now as the back office, you are online monitoring of productivity and efficiency. But how is talent management now done under this disruptive situation of hybrid, fragmented workplaces and workspaces, or home and work is in one space. So how do you develop that now?
Um, Different areas of talent management, Rosario. So let's focus on the attracting the talents and hiring the talents, learning them, managing and rewarding good performance, and creating that full employee experience. So if you look at it actually, and you were correct, I think at the opening you mentioned about you've been talking about disruptive workplaces. And the words disruption in workplace or future of work it started many years ago, like 5, 7, 8 years ago. People were already talking about innovations, disruptions, how do we adjust and things like that. Now this pandemic, I think, is nothing new in terms of what we expect from people who will try these changes in the workplace. However, accelerated. It accelerated the way we handle things, the way we perceive things, and it has actually expanded the magnitude because now it's not only focusing on the organization, but it's now expand even to the workplace. Now, finding, attracting, and hiring people, I think now with this new normal and the next normal, it's called the post-COVID, the next normal, right? Because nobody is very certain about what will happen after COVID, and I doubt if we will go back to the previous normal. So I'm calling it the next normal. A lot of people are thinking about the hiring process. A lot of people have tested that, all right, can we actually hire people that we've never met face-to-face personally and just interview online? Some organizations were forced to actually test that because we've been hiring since March up until last week, and we've hired about 300 employees that we've never met face to face. And we realized that all right, pwede pala. Pwede pala. But there are those questions like, all right, will they be effective? And again, we don't know because we will only know after probably 6 or after a year, right? There is a lot of or hiring going on right now on the IT space because a lot of people realize that staying connected, having a good infrastructure, having good connectivity, having the right applications and tools that will enable work is critical. So people now are actually either strengthening their infrastructure or learning on the fly, developing something on the fly to make sure that the operations continue to happen. And that affects their acquisition because all of a sudden Europe for some organizations that was not the priority. And now all of a sudden we have hired people with skills and capability. And the question is, if you're not an IT company, how do you attract? whose career path is into the IT, completely with bigger IT organizations around you. The next one is, the freelancing, especially here in the Philippines, and like in the US, part-time hiring is very, very common. In the Philippines, Rosario, it's either we hire a probationary, a fixed-term project, a permanent, right? We don't even allow them to actually work while they're working with us. So, but now, if you are after a certain skill, and this skill is only available to somebody who is actually a freelance person, we have a lot of those coming from the younger workforce. Somehow you need to follow the terms, right? The terms is, I'm a freelance, I accept my project, I manage my own time, I just deliver. So again, it affects the way you attract and you hire your people. And that will also impact, so what assessment and what platforms will you use as a freelancer to make sure that while you accommodate all of this, you're still hiring the right people aligned to your values and needs as an organization. So that's on the talent. Now, learning and growing, or learning and development, which I'm sure John Baluyat later on will talk more about. More and more companies now are into broad-based digital training. A lot of people now are more open to doing online courses, online training. Before, ayaw natin yan because we say it's still effective to do things, right? Right now, people are very open to do online training, virtual classroom, via Zoom, via different technologies. And somehow, there is the need now to test and check if the way you design your curriculum, the way they design your program will still be effective. Will they still develop the skills you need people to develop, considering that you're not seeing them, you're not actually able to touch, to monitor, to assess, to evaluate, to make sure that you deliver the programs that you develop that you need to do an organization. And that's another thing, because this is unprecedented, and a lot of our students are fast tracking the way they do their transformation. We're not even sure what are the capabilities that will really drive us toward real success. So in the past, it took us a year or two to go through organizational transformation. But right now, we're just talking months. You need to be able to identify the capabilities you need by next year if you are to continue in this kind of setup. And that takes a lot of, again, quick thinking, agile thinking, rapid decision making, and trusting that, all right, these are the capabilities in our organization to be successful. And that's linked to talent development. There are many competencies, Rosario, that I think leaders, formal or informal, or talents in general need to develop. But the way I see it, there are four most critical ones. One is being humane. I think
Sorry,
now
one is,
being humane.
humane. Okay.
It's very important.
Kindness and being humane.
Yes. It's very important for us right now to actually have a sense to be able to balance both business, operations, and people. And it's not an easy job, right? You need to show compassion and empathy without sacrificing the business. You need to be able to protect the business without sacrificing people. So somehow in all of those activities, we need to make sure that we have a very good way to actually say the right and the things to do at this instance. The second is agility. The how fast and how quick we are able to adapt and how flexible we are while maintaining the same level of efficiency. And again, it's not an easy job, right? But that is part of the education. The next one is actually rapid decision. Before, we have a lot of time to think about different options, pros and cons, critical thinking tayo, mag-think tayo ng, what's the most likely, least likely, unlikely scenario, things like that. Right now,
Paralysis.
wala na. You just have to, alright, what are the different options quote unquote, all right, let's do that. And it has to be, a very, very quick. Uh, but there also has to be that courage, right? The courage to be able to accept the fact that it may not work, and if it doesn't work, you have to learn how to fail fast. Get back up right away, analyze right away, correct, and then move on. And lastly, being I think most leaders and employees, we have to learn that trust and respect. We need to show people that we can be empowered. We need to show people that even if nobody's watching, we will do the right thing. Even if nobody is actually keeping tab of what everybody's doing, people will always do what is right for the organization, for themselves, and for the time. And I think those are the most critical qualities. Now,
Amazing what you're saying, because I don't even know how to ask questions, and you're like loading us with all of the dimensions really needed. So I just want to ask, quite related to what you said. You really need to try. Agility is very important, but the agility starts in the business of being what should be the new business model and changes, and of course, the people in leadership. Agility act on it is very key. I still go back on the talent management development, and you hit it right on the talent acquisition. In your talent acquisition, in your industry, and perhaps even in the industry that you have seen, what are the new skills and competencies now needed even more under this new world that we're in? You mentioned quite a number of that already, but by industry and so forth, what are the new skills that is more relevant?
um, I will name one, Rosario. Learning. Uh, you know why? Again, this is unprecedented. A lot of organizations right now are transforming in a very, very quick way. Some organization doesn't even know what competencies are necessary for the new normal. And therefore, learning on the fly, I think, is a important competency because that gives you that bandwidth to be able to actually be on the lookout. All right, what's happening, what's changing. I'm willing to actually work while learning about it and actually willing to raise enough to try while learning about it. And I think that's the number one competence that we all need to develop nowadays. And not everybody has that, right? Some people they would want, wait, explain to me the process, explain to me the changes, train me, and then we will do it. But sometimes the reality is not like that. Sometimes leaders doesn't even have the time to tell you what's changing because they don't know what's changing. Things are just evolving as they come. And it's very critical for people and talent to be very observant, to be very flexible, and to be very mindful of, all right, what is it that I need to start and develop within me that even without my organization, that those competencies I need to develop, I take the initiative to develop. And I think learning on the side, learning those competencies as you try to learn it, as you try to discover it, is very
I think you hone it very well. Learning on the fly. But at the same time, it takes two to tango. That, as a leader in talent acquisition team, you have to trust that that person will be able to learn in the fly once he accepts that responsibility. Because otherwise, we're so fearful. Would he do it? Will he manage? And will he fail fast? Things like that.
exactly. And that's why, it's also important for people to actually show that they can perform while learning on it, right? Because it's not enough to participate in learning without producing any result. And therefore, that's also very difficult, right? Now, my experience has shown me that not all the time people will perform very well, and that's fine. Because as a practitioner, I think what's important is you show the organization that you're learning, you have the courage to try, you're actually not afraid to fail, and you have the wisdom that when you fail, you immediately learn, change it, and move forward.
That's very true. That's very true. The agility happens not on the top only, but also the ground. But you see, with many industries that have trained that customer or one here, closed down. The service industry, restaurant, tourism, aviation industry, they do not have the skills that the new companies have evolved in. And hopefully that the companies will trust that they can learn and apply on the basis of new skill set and the trustworthiness and them feeling that and moving forward will be considered highly without the industry experience of the job that they're.
That's for organizations, right? But I like observing things as they unfold. So here in the Philippines, I'm really very impressed about the resiliency of the Philippines people because I've seen a lot of people lose their jobs the past months. But if you go to social media, and I think this is part of learning on the fly, but not in the organizational context. This is a talent development at a national level. A lot of people transform themselves to become entrepreneurs. They're selling food, they're selling items. We now have what's called the barter community, where people are, getting things that they're not using anymore and asking people to trade it for something that they need, which I think is actually a very good business model, right? There's no money involved, but people are actually collaborating and they're exchanging items. And to me, maybe, I don't know, if people will progress or continue to explore that, then maybe that's a new kind of business model altogether, right? So if you look at it in a bigger scale, and learning on the fly, once you have it, it will help you not only in terms of how you develop your talents in the organization, but how people will actually survive, during this time of crisis. So I guess what I'm saying is that competencies, life competencies, are very, very important, not just the organization.
That's very true. Learning in a fly to become an entrepreneur, and then so many small, medium enterprises have been born, which is in sync with the part of the trade industry reinforced. So there's a lot of mentors coming in, and the mentor the there's a lot of things. You have presented a lot of dimensions. I know our time with you is limited because of your next appointment, but I want to bring in cutting certain processes of the show is exchange some ideas and the best use of schools. Do more with your wisdom and experience, complemented by John Baluyot. John Baluyot, as you know, is our ex-colleague and is now the president of the Philippine Society of Training and Development and CEO and founder of Positive Workplace. So let's bring in John Baluyot, please.
Hey, hi, John.
You are on mute, Miguel. You are on mute. Um,
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Rosario.
Hi,
I'm
John.
so united with everything that Michelle said.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Michelle, I really love what you said about learning on the fly. A lot of people are afraid. A lot of people, even after 6 months, they're so afraid to try new things. They're afraid. A lot of them, especially on the team, are still afraid to do digital. Diba? Because of so many issues. Connectivity or probably image. That's what they're afraid that they might be judged because they're going to be on screen showing themselves to the public. And that's terrifying even for the most experienced leaders. So I guess you're learning on the fly is a really spot on like when it comes to really accelerating the competence of our leaders to adapt to whatever is happening right now.
If our generations will learn on the fly. Hold that thought because I want to bring in our founder, Rolly Pagaspas. Rolly, Rolly is our founder here, but he is not on video. There he is. Rolly, okay.
Yes.
You want to take advantage of Michelle still here with us on the air. Do you have any questions? I've got an easy question here, but I want to give the floor to you for what question you want to ask our two industry experts.
Well, Michelle declared that the activity is not work and that's very solution. But generally, agility is talking about management. They're always proactive in providing new areas, new process, and new solution. And that should become a culture. And then the challenge for HR is to transmit this to the people middle and lower level. How do you now address it holistically so that agility will now be a culture during this time of pandemic, during those factors of mental health concerns and work?
Ron, I have a different perspective agility coming from that. Because in my experience, I've seen that sometimes employees are more agile than uh, you know that. And we have one good example. General Luyot is actually one very agile person, more agile than me, but he was working with me. We have a very interesting dynamic relationship in the enterprise. That is a very good example. And I think what I'm trying to drive here is for leaders to be sure that we allow our employees to bring the 100%. If they're more agile than we, be more agile. Listen, open, embrace the stress that they bring to the team. As leaders, I think our role, especially in this time of pandemic, is to provide this psychological safety environment where people will feel safe to themselves, they will feel safe to just open up and share ideas, they will feel safe to admit if they cannot do and achieve certain expectations. And as leaders, our role is to actually enable them and make them realize that, it's okay, I'm here to guide you, and we will.
What about you, George? Comment about that.
Well, I'll speak naman in the perspective of the young who's rushing into their careers, no? Kasi like when Michelle said that, it's true, like that the dynamic that we had was a bit obscure, pero it worked out because even when my agility or my ability to be sometimes very impatient on things and go gung ho on certain programs, I think I have to understand as an aspiring or growing leader that the leaders above me have already made things happen before. That the potential, the types of accomplishments that they've had were based on the competencies and the wisdom that they had. And if I, as a new leader, will push that up and without being mindful and respectful of the leaders above me, then the synergy will not work. That mindfulness in the youth is very important because one of the reason why I escalated in my career path is because even when the leaders have their own thing, I have to be able to synergize. I have to be able to adapt because it's a culture, it's an organization. So that's my tip, no? That's my tip. We have to be as leaders, young leaders, have to be mindful also of the value of everyone in the organization, regardless of a
Wow,
level.
very well said. May I make a comment, Rory,
Yeah.
on what we have both said?
I'll also
when you,
do a follow through.
yeah, when you said about
Parang panel na to.
Huh?
Parang panel na.
This is the panel. So what I'm trying to do is that agility from the top when you said it. I was like, "Oh, no, it doesn't start from the top." And I was glad when Michelle said it as well. And John saying that because what has come to my mind is about the young generation now. Okay, I've got a Z generation son. If he doesn't like the way I he just goes and everything else. That is the way organization works with his young generation. And of course, when the values are not in sync, it makes me crazy. And I always tell
Right.
myself, if you were my employee, I would have fired you. Sometimes it goes in my mind. But the agility and, as you said, the respect and following still at least the values of integrity and respectful and how you deliver it is very important. But if I am the young employee and my boss is not that agile enough that I know it's needed with this fast changing, it's either I really make a loud voice about it, make changes for the survival of everybody, or I get out of here and find another company. That I believe my thoughts and my creativity will be heard. The pandemic has forced that situation. So the question I ask you, do you think, therefore, for those current leaders, not agile enough and not fast thinker and not in a fly like that, are going to be the leaders of yesterday because today's young generation is the right leader for the new abnormal?
Really depends, Rosario. I'd like to contextualize that. One of the things I really valued and learned a lot from, PMAP, was when they exposed me to the different chapters. And, PMAP is a national organization, so it brought me to different places. I visited Iligan, Zamboanga del Norte. I visited Davao, Cebu, Cagayan de Oro. And I realized that the practice of human resource and talent management varies, right? So it doesn't always follow that when the leaders are not quickly transforming to the future of work type of leader, that they're not adaptable and they will not be successful, because there are different businesses that requires us still be without digital, right?
Right.
Agriculture is one. When you go to the provinces here in the Philippines and you look at what business are they doing, what are the competencies that's necessary for them to be successful, it's totally different. So for me, I think it's very important for us to always remember there's no such thing as one size fits all. But for organizations like those in the metro, like those which are bigger and multinational and global, then that's a totally different story. But I hope, as at a national perspective, we were able to deliver and develop the competencies across all sectors, across all industries, depending on what's meaningful and what's relevant for them. And honestly, here in the Philippines, we are a developing country, right? So sometimes I worry about how can we sustain the impact of this pandemic. But if you go back and think, if only we have a way to use technology to strengthen our agriculture, then maybe it will also shape the way talent management will be in the Philippines, because the profile of talents will be different. It's not on the digital side, but probably on the agriculture sustainability side of things. So there's a lot of opportunities, but what we're saying here is we need to always be very mindful to understand why people are not transforming,
Right.
what are the meaningful competencies depending on the business that they're doing, what are the profile of talents that they need. And I tell you, not everybody here in the Philippines is working from home. Some provinces have decided to already start working on site simply because our infrastructure is not working for them, right? So iba yung scenario, and I think as leaders, it's incumbent upon us to determine how we can support our country, talent development at a national level, talent management at a national level, and not leave behind the micro and the small businesses in the country, who is, by the way, the ones keeping our economy upright right now.
Right.
All right. So I have a question, because I think the biggest challenge to the Philippines right now is really leadership. And all the things on the per sector level will follow through if the bigger leadership will be on a more stable basis. But let's see it in this way. Uncertainty is the time of uncertainty, and uncertainty can paralyze everyone, all of us. The daunting feeling of not knowing what my future, your future, our future holds, and what measures will be able to take to sustain the organizational operations is a huge challenge. We'll never know, baka tomorrow wala na akong trabaho, the other thing, itong kumpanya nagsara na, no? We all more or less are affected by this uncertainty. So employees are affected mentally, not knowing what the future holds for them, and HR team, even the management team are affected. Baka mamaya wala na yung department ko, parang ganon. So how do you respond to this crisis and do effective measures and strategies for all?
John?
For me, I agree with Michelle that everything starts with a leader, no? So, Rolly, when you spoke about well-being of individuals or employees, like DDI recently released a survey that only 7% of HR leaders feel that they can control or address employee burnout, right?
Okay.
That's a very intense statistic, and
Yeah.
it's alarming too. It's alarming because employee well-being is the basis of the organization's ability to flourish. So my answer to that is the leaders right now should have a deliberate program on well-being, because without it, the sustainability of the organization's productivity, satisfaction, and reflection towards their customers will be affected, because there's no one else who will handle the jobs except for the people. So
For
and
the
that
owner.
exactly. And the well-being part is the core of all of these organizations. And and um it, it's not enough to say that we are a friendly company and we are a people company. There has to be a strategy on it. And knowing, like, having worked with Michelle for quite a while, I've known that the only way impact works is if there is a plan. And Michelle, like, has always great strategies in mind when getting things done. And for me, having seen that front and center makes me confident to say that there has to be a strategy on human well-being in organizations.
Wow, very well said. We're running out of time, Rolly, because I know Michelle's timing is quite limited. Unless you have a pressing thing you want to say, uh, but we shall continue talking with John in a short while. Do you have anything else, Rolly?
Now, we'll defer into a second part, meaning to say another episode of this magnitude.
Yeah, and before Michelle goes, is I wanted to ask Michelle, what is her advice to the people out there?
I'll go back to, talent management, right? Nowadays it's all about employee experience, right? If before the pandemic we talk about employee experience in terms of how we make engagement programs, how do we make our employees happy, how do we develop them, how do we train them and send them to probably abroad or conferences just to make them engaged. I think nowadays that employee experience has been redefined. To John's point, nowadays it's all about how do we really take good care of our employees in a total well-being perspective. How do we make them feel safe? How do we make sure that we listen to them? How do we make sure that they know that the organization is there not only for the business, but also to take care of them as employees and also their families? And this is the challenge for my colleagues in the HR profession. We've already expanded the scope of HR. Before kasi ang HR organization lang. Nowadays, since the workplace is now extended up until the home of the employees, somehow we have that responsibility to make sure that it becomes a good experience, not only for the employees, but also for their families. So this is actually a moment that matters for all leaders and all HR practitioners. Every decision, every strategy that we will take in this time of pandemic will define how the employees will feel, how they will look at life in the long term. So I hope we always make the right decision. And if we are not able to make the right decision because we don't know what to do, we have the humility as leaders to go and tell our people, we don't know, help us find the right answers. So I hope that's helpful, Rosario. And I leave you and John in the next segment of this show. And thank you, Rolly.
Thank you very much, Michelle, for great wisdom and insight. And John, do not go away because we have to continue the discussion with you. But it's just to put it in a few words, what I have captured from this dialogue with you guys is really a balance of compassion and running a business. What came into my mind is something I've learned in one of the economic books, which is the economic principle of hazard. How do you narrow the gap of the hazard, principle of hazard, between the business and the personal me? Okay, what I just wanted to deliver here is, I know it is the well-being of the people, it is the employees' experience that will propel us to the future. The well-being and employees' experience is more even critical now because everybody is in a very depressing and sad situation. So a compassion has to be done. But towards the evolution of the business, as we progress, that economic balance has to come between compassion and at the same time, we're running a business and the economy has to propel that will give job to everybody, but we should not forget to take care of the people. All right. So maraming salamat, Michelle. But please don't go away because we'll be right back. Now dive deep with John Baluyot's wisdom and insights. Brief commercial.
We'll be back shortly. This is Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition, only here on V81 Radio Worldwide. Now back to Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition, only here on V81 Radio Worldwide.
Well, welcome back to Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition. This is season 2. And what you've heard today is Cherry Pua-Africa talk about the Awesome People Conference at their first segment earlier today, and the fourth series of their conference about awesome team, awesome life, awesome communicator, and awesome leadership. And then you've heard from Michelle Garcia, her insights about talent management and retention. And we focused today's episode about people, about you. So that as economy reopens with businesses opening up, more with health protocols in place, of course, the future of 2021 is with your people, because there is no other way to build businesses but through its people. So there is so much to be thankful for, even in the midst of pandemic madness, looking towards 2021 to a brighter tomorrow, which is the focus of season 2 of Talk Shop Asia Global. We hope that you had a great and relaxing Thanksgiving weekend. Although we felt all the pain of the pandemic that has brought us in this world, there is still so many things to be grateful for. Thank you is such a powerful message of resilience and moving forward even more stronger as we welcome looking towards 2021. So on behalf of the founder of Talk Shop Asia Global, Rolly Pagaspas, this is Rosario Cajucom-Bradbury, your host at Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition, bringing to you information how to navigate successfully in this new world normal. See you again next week, same time, same channel at V81 Radio Worldwide. Good night, America. Good afternoon, Philippines. And signing off today, and see you again next week. Bye.
The program that puts together industry and business leaders, their organization, company, and brands in an optimal showcase of information for business impact and exchange. This is Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition, the scalable business exchange program and platform. Hosted by global business leader Rosario Cajucom-Bradbury. Live in Southern California, together with the founding anchor, business and transformation mentor, Rolly Pagaspas. Live in the Philippines, Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition. Tuesdays at 7 p.m. California time, or Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Philippine time. Live in all digital platforms of V81 Radio. Available everywhere. Talk Shop Asia Global USA Edition. Only here on V81 Radio Worldwide. Walang kasing saya ang Paskong Pinoy. Dumaan man ang problema at pandemya, kayang-kayang lampasan basta't nagdadamayan at nagmamahalan.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
Tuloy na tuloy pa rin ang Pasko dito sa V81 Radio, Los Angeles.
Ito ang paborito ng bawat Pilipino. Basta all hits, all Pinoy, panalo. Merong kwentong iyakan at tawanan. Kahit nasaan ka man, ito'y mapapakinggan. Oh, V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko. V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Dahil mahal namin kayo. V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio.